protagonist appears in front of him and says he has two questions. First, he wants to know why the Deep Fire sect occupied the ancestral lands of the Lee family. The elder, terrified, begs not to be killed and says he will tell everything, explaining that at that time, the Deep Fire sect participated in dividing the lands of the Lee family, and that those ancestral lands were assigned to them and have been used ever since as a secondary mountain gate to recruit disciples. Lycan then asks the second question, wanting to know who is the strongest there, and what that person's cultivation level is. The elder replies that the one in charge is Chang Zai, the fourth elder of the Deep Fire sect, and that he himself is only an outer disciple, with no knowledge of that elder's cultivation level. The protagonist reacts by saying that Chang Zai, master of the fifth branch, is one of the 8 direct branches of the family, and that the family was destroyed so quickly back then, precisely because many relatives rebelled at the decisive moment, catching everyone off guard so he doesn't believe that this traitor is truly there. Zier states that they absolutely cannot let that traitor go unpunished. Lycan then tells them to move and enter. The disciple tries to warn them, saying they should wait because he is like a terrifying war god, and that cold aura is already pressing him so much that he can barely breathe, concluding that the Deep Fire sect is no longer safe and that he must flee immediately. Before he can escape, a creature appears in front of him and asks where he thinks he's going. The disciple, frightened, asks who he is, and the creature replies that the young master ordered that no one should escape. Then the creature opens a mouth in its own hand and devours him, and a scream echoes. Zier looks around and comments that the place still looks the same as before, but everything has changed, and there are no relatives left. At that moment, someone approaches and asks if they are also disciples participating in the assessment. The two remain silent. The boy continues speaking and tells them to perform well in the test, because the first place will have an audience with the fourth elder. The protagonist becomes interested and asks about this audience with Chang Zai, saying that it is perfect. The boy reacts indignantly and asks how he dares call the elder by name, reminding that it is the 50th anniversary of the fourth elder, and that if anyone displeases him, no one will be able to protect them. Lycan simply smiles, and the boy leaves. Zier asks if they should participate in the test, and the protagonist replies yes, saying they will prepare a surprise for Chang Zai. Then they arrive at a place full of people where everyone is talking, saying they are newly arrived disciples, and that if they manage to get first place and an audience with the fourth elder, they can become direct disciples, which would be a unique opportunity for ascension, so everyone must give their best. A voice then orders everyone to be silent as the test is about to begin. At that moment, a beautiful girl approaches, drawing everyone's attention. The young men are impressed and call her the 9th young lady, asking why she is there. The 9th young lady replies that she only came to observe, since that place used to be the land of the immortal emperor's family, the Li family, and many places there are still worthy of admiration. The young men are enchanted and comment that she is the 9th young lady of the Celestial Gate, saying her beauty makes anyone fall in love at first sight. Lycan asks about the Celestial Gate, and Zier explains that it is a mysterious sect that appeared only in recent years, whose origin no one knows, although there are rumors that it is an ancient sect, and that besides being mysterious, it is also extremely powerful, with that young woman being a representative who travels among various forces as an honored guest. So it is strange to see her there in the Li family lands. The 9th young lady tells them not to worry about her and to continue. The disciple in charge of the test then asks for attention and explains that the first stage is simple. Each participant must strike the giant stone in front of them with all their strength, and whoever leaves the deepest fist mark will be the winner. A muscular young man volunteers and takes an attack stance. The disciple observes and comments that it is not bad at all, as it shows good mastery of body conditioning, and that the disciples recruited this time have good aptitude. The young man strikes the stone and leaves a mark, but not very deep, complaining that the stone is extremely hard. The disciple explains that it is a black tortoise stone, whose hardness rivals deep iron, and that without great skill, it is impossible even to shake it. Another participant prepares, but someone interrupts. It is the protagonist. The bald man asks what he wants, and Lycan replies that to avoid wasting time, he will go first. The disciple finds it strange and asks what he means. Without answering, the protagonist delivers a direct punch and completely shatters the stone. Everyone is shocked, and even the 9th young lady is surprised. The disciple, in disbelief, asks if the black tortoise stone was really destroyed. The 9th young lady observes carefully and comments that that strike showed no fluctuation of spiritual energy, being the ultimate manifestation of physical strength, concluding that he is someone out of the ordinary. The disciple then declares that he is the first to destroy that stone in thousands of years in the Deep Fire sect, stating that such strength is impressive, and that if he has an audience with the fourth elder, his qualification will be unquestionable. Lycan simply says to proceed to the next stage. At the side, the disciple says that the second test is very simple. In the arena, everyone fights without restrictions, and whoever remains standing last wins. The young men look directly at the boy who shattered the black tortoise stone with a single punch earlier, afraid they are no match for him, and decide they must eliminate him together first, then compete among themselves for the winner. The protagonist states that this is exactly what he was thinking as well and tells everyone to come at him at once. Everyone becomes furious, calling him arrogant, asking how he dares challenge so many at once, and saying he is courting death. Two boys advance from behind him, but Lycan immediately strikes them, along with the one in front and everyone around. Two more try to approach, but they are also hit, and with just one strike, everyone is sent flying. The young men scream in pain until they are completely defeated. The disciple is shocked to see that. The protagonist says it's over. The disciple, incredulous, asks how that is possible, saying, "Everything happened in the blink of an eye." The ninth young lady observes and comments that his movements were precise and ruthless, without any waste, each action pushing the body to its limit, and wonders how someone so young could come to the Deep Fire sect as just an outer disciple. Lycan then asks if he can now see Changzai, and the disciple replies, yes. The ninth young lady steps forward and asks if she can get to know him, saying she is from the Celestial Gate, but the protagonist simply keeps walking and says he has no interest. The disciple is indignant and questions how he dares be so rude to her, but the ninth young lady says it's fine, as it has been a long time since she met someone with such personality. At a banquet, everyone is gathered. A man declares that that day marks the 50th anniversary of the fourth elder and that they are there to celebrate together, wishing him even greater progress within the Deep Fire sect. The fourth elder deeply thanks everyone for their presence, especially for the visit of the ninth young lady of the Celestial Gate, saying the sect is truly honored, and invites everyone to enjoy the food and drinks. A man comments that now that the main branch of the family has disappeared, with his prestige he should take control of the immortal emperor's family. Another agrees, saying that at that time the main branch conspired with external demons and was completely annihilated. But the family name can still continue, and that the fourth elder should rightfully assume the position of head. The fourth elder responds that they are being too kind, but admits that he thinks the same. A bald man congratulates him in advance as the head of the family, raising a toast. Changzai declares that that night no one will leave until they are completely drunk. The disciple announces that the champion of the new assessment has been chosen and asks if he should call him. The fourth elder orders him to bring him. The disciple then calls the winner to enter, and the protagonist appears. Changzai asks his name, and Lycan replies. The ninth young lady thinks he's there for a different purpose, just like her. The fourth elder comments that the name sounds familiar until he remembers that a useless young master of the Li family also had that name, adding that it is a pity that that person is already dead. He orders a cup of wine to be served, saying that from that moment on, he will be one of his men. The disciple hands the cup and tells him to hurry, as it is a great opportunity. The protagonist, however, remains still. The bald man gets angry and asks what he's waiting for, ordering him to kneel and toast the elder to secure a bright future. At that moment, Lycan throws the drink directly in the elder's face. The bald man shouts, asking what he is doing. The fourth elder asks if that was an accident or intentional. The protagonist stares at him, walks up, and slaps him across the face. Everyone is completely shocked. The ninth young lady is also surprised. Changzai is sent crashing to the ground along with the food. Some guests do not understand what is happening and ask what he is trying to do. The fourth elder declares that he has rebelled. A disciple shouts that he dared to disrespect an elder and advances to eliminate him, but the protagonist extends his hand and knocks him down with a single strike. Changzai, dazed, says he defeated the best outer disciple of the Deep Fire sect with a single move and asks who he really is. Lycan then asks if he truly doesn't recognize him. The fourth elder looks at his face carefully and questions if he has seen him before, until his eyes widen as he finally recognizes him. The protagonist says that he finally remembers. Changzai, in shock, asks how that is possible, how he could still be alive. Everyone around becomes confused and starts questioning whether he is the young master of the Li family, remembering that he had fallen into the abyss and wondering how he managed to get out and survive. The ninth young lady wonders if the young master of the Li family really came out alive from the great abyss and realizes this is shocking news, as the secret of that place might finally be revealed. The fourth elder orders everyone to be silent and says that no matter how he survived, since he dared to appear there, he must lose his life again. The blonde agrees, saying they must not let that remnant escape, as eliminating him will be a great achievement. The ninth young lady intervenes and tells them to stop. Changzai laughs and tells her not to worry, that she will also receive credit for the boy's death. However, she steps forward and says he is thinking too much. making it clear that she is protecting the young man and that no one can lay a finger on him. Lycan is confused while the fourth elder asks what she means by that. She replies that it is simple, she will take him with her, and whoever tries to kill him will be eliminated by her. She also tells the boy not to be afraid, that he can return with her to the Celestial Gate, where his safety will be guaranteed. The protagonist refuses, saying it is not necessary and that she is not qualified to interfere in his affairs. The ninth young lady becomes irritated, asking why his words are so unpleasant. Changzai laughs again and says that it seems the fool does not appreciate her kindness, so there is no reason to hesitate. He will be eliminated right there. A man approaches with a sword and says, there is no need for the elder to act personally against a mere youth. He will handle it himself. The man tells him to choose how he wants to die. The ninth young lady warns that that man is the leader of the Blade Gang, whose swordsmanship is extremely fierce, making him a difficult opponent. However, Lycan moves quickly and defeats him with a single devastating strike, sending him flying. The ninth young lady sighs and says to ignore what she said earlier. Everyone is shocked to see the opponent defeated with just one blow, questioning if that boy was not considered useless and how he became so powerful. A priest steps forward and says that his talent deserves his attention and that he will eliminate him to celebrate the fourth elder's birthday. He summons a talisman and declares the orthodox law of the five thunders, saying he will ensure the boy disappears without a trace. The protagonist simply grabs the talisman between his fingers. The priest is stunned, while Lycan remains completely unharmed. The priest cannot believe it, saying he is trying to hold a thunder talisman with his bare hands and asking if he does not fear death. The protagonist releases overwhelming power and shatters the talisman into pieces. The priest is shocked, unable to understand how someone could crush a thunder talisman like that. The ninth young lady observes that there is something strange about that young man's strength, that he's not an ordinary cultivator, and her interest in him grows even more. Lycan approaches the priest, places his hand on his face, and the man asks what he is doing. The protagonist then releases his energy and declares that he can not only destroy thunder spells, but also destroy him. Lightning emerges, and the priest is instantly eliminated. The bald man watches in shock, noting that he was also defeated, remembering that Taoist Kanglian cultivated for 200 years and reached the second realm, with 5 energies converging at the origin, and even so was killed without resistance. Lycan then looks at the fourth elder and says he is next. Changzai steps back in fear and says he is not worthy, stating that this is the territory of the Deep Fire sect and ordering everyone to attack together, promising to make whoever kills him a true disciple. The guards advance and surround him, confident that together they can defeat that boy, competing among themselves for the final blow. As they advance, 3 of them are defeated with a single strike. The fourth elder realizes the situation is far too strange, thinking he must inform the sect master immediately. The protagonist continues fighting and eliminates the guards with overwhelming force. Changzai tries to flee, saying those disciples only serve to delay him, and that the boy is naive for thinking he can stop him. Suddenly, a body falls in front of him, and Lycan appears right behind him, saying that he had said he would be next. The fourth elder panics, unable to understand how that happened, while the surviving guards say he is a monster, because even with so many attacking, they could not slow him down at all. The protagonist orders him to kneel and apologize. Changzai laughs nervously and says he thinks he can do something against him, declaring that he will kill him. Lycan strikes his leg, making him scream in pain and fall to the ground. Then the protagonist steps on him, terrifying everyone around. Then Lycan declares that as the head of the Lai lineage, he betrayed the Li family and became a traitor, and that his crime deserves death. The fourth elder begs to be spared, saying he recognizes his mistake, but in the next moment, a sword pierces his body from Zier's hands. On the verge of death, tears run down Changzai's face while Zier tells him to remember her, revealing that for 8 years she thought every day about killing them to avenge the Li family, and that she has finally fulfilled that wish. The fourth elder, still trying to resist, says that the Li family was destroyed by the entire world and questions whether they would be able to eliminate everyone, asking if they have that ability. The protagonist replies that it is not something he needs to worry about. Then Lycan places his finger on his forehead, releases a light, removes his hand, and Changzai is completely eliminated. The guards, upon seeing the fourth elder's death, panic and begin to flee. Outside of the creatures wait, and a maid comments that she wonders how the young master is doing, worried about the number of Deep Fire sect disciples inside. The servant beside her says there is no need to worry, recalling that the young master crawled out of the frozen side and was taken in by Miss Zai, and that she is worrying for nothing. The maid agrees and explains that the frozen side is known as the dwelling of 100,000 vengeful spirits, and that those who manage to come out of there are infinitely more cruel than those spirits. At that moment, some guards manage to escape and try to flee, but They are intercepted by the two creatures, becoming terrified upon seeing them. The maid comments that someone managed to escape, and the other coldly replies to enjoy the feast. Meanwhile, inside, the ninth young lady walks around observing the situation and comments that many people escaped and that the news of his return from the great abyss will spread across the continent in a single night, and that only the celestial gate can protect him. The protagonist replies that the news will not leak. She asks what he means, and Lycan says it is because no one will leave alive. The ninth young lady says that is impossible since hundreds of disciples fled in all directions, and he could not stop them all. At that moment, several creatures approach and report that everyone in the west was annihilated, no one escaped. In the southeast, there were also no survivors. In the north, all were eliminated. In the southwest, likewise. And in the east, the mission was also completed. The ninth young lady realizes the strength of those presences and asks if they are all his subordinates. The protagonist orders those outside to come in, saying that only she is still alive. The ninth young lady asks if he intends to eliminate her as well, and Lycan asks her to give him a reason to spare her. She replies that she just spoke in his favor and that the invitation to join the Celestial Gate was only out of interest in the Great Abyss, and that regardless of his answer, her sect would not force him. The protagonist asks if there is anything else, and she adds that now he has become an enemy of everyone, but that the Celestial Gate did not participate in the destruction of the Lai family and that perhaps they can cooperate, since he will certainly need them in the future, also stating that he might not even be able to eliminate her. Lycan remains silent for a moment and then declares that he will spare her life. Zir asks if he really intended to kill her, and the protagonist replies that they are not demons and do not kill innocents indiscriminately, only those who harmed the Li family in the past. Zir feels relieved upon hearing that. The ninth young lady then asks what the next step will be, and Lycan replies that they will go to the Chen family. She asks if it is the family where the young master's fiancé, Chen Qingwu, lives, mentioning that according to information, the family is about to arrange a marriage with the holy son of the Chaos Sacred Land, commenting that things are getting interesting. In the city of Changzhou, the protagonist moves with his group until they stop in front of the entrance to Yanzhou City, territory of the Chen family. Suddenly, Zir kneels, and Lycan becomes concerned, asking what happened. She feels something strange and begins to cultivate, while a surreal aura starts to surround her. The protagonist checks her breathing and notices something surprising, saying that she is awakening the immortal emperor physique of the family lineage. One of the creatures observes that although her bloodline was weakened and her body frail, that white light overflows with vitality and indicates the awakening of a special physique, suggesting that she turned the misfortune into a blessing after having her blood constantly extracted over the years. The protagonist then asks what it means to turn adversity into a blessing. The creature explains that in order to stabilize her condition, it will be necessary to find heavenly spiritual herbs and powerful tonics capable of fully restoring her body, otherwise her life expectancy will continue to decline more and more. But now that she is awakening an unmatched physique, this is probably connected to the continuous extraction of the immortal emperor bloodline over all those years, which ended up activating the young lady's hidden potential, although this situation is extremely rare and practically unprecedented in history. Lycan observes that even so, her life expectancy is still decreasing. The creature confirms that this is true and emphasizes that the young master must find those tonics as quickly as possible to replenish her vital energies, though it points out that heavenly spiritual herbs usually exist only in deep mountains or great rivers, making them difficult to obtain in a short amount of time. The protagonist then questions why they should search so far away, recalling that the engagement ceremony between the holy son of the Chaos Sacred Land and Chen will certainly be filled with spiritual herbs and precious medicines. In another place, imposing carriages approach, drawing the attention of the people in the city, who comment on the magnificent spectacle, recognizing that they are the envoys of the Chaos Sacred Land, bringing the engagement gifts whose formation and aura perfectly demonstrate the power of one of the 6 great sacred lands. The ceremony is celebrated with praise on all sides, being considered a perfect and enviable union, and they comment that after the engagement, the Chen family will rise rapidly, with Miss Chen being elevated to the status of saintess. Meanwhile, on a nearby cliff, the creature suggests that it is already time to act. Lycan summons the shadow demons, and one of them immediately appears, calling him Young Master. The protagonist orders them to isolate the entire area, and the shadow demon smiles, saying that this is his specialty. Inside a boat, a leader warns his men to stay alert because they are about to reach Yanzhou City, emphasizing that the engagement gifts are extremely valuable and that there can be no mishap. A disciple responds confidently that he is exaggerating, questioning who would dare attack the Chaos Sacred Land, claiming that even if they left the gifts in the middle of the street, no one would have the courage to steal them. At that moment, the shadow demon releases a flock of crows that quickly surrounds the entire vessel, covering the sky and the sun, causing shock among the people waiting for the arrival, who can no longer even see the envoys of the sacred land. The leader asks where so many crows came from, and orders everyone to prepare for battle. Suddenly, someone jumps into the boat, revealing himself as Lycan accompanied by his group. The leader demands to know who they are, and the protagonist calmly replies that they came to deliver an offering to the Holy Sun. One disciple relaxes and says it was just a false alarm, suggesting that they probably were not invited and are trying to gain the favor of the sacred land by delivering gifts. The leader orders them to leave the offering and get out of that area immediately. The disciple reinforces the order for them to hand over the gifts and leave. Lycan merely points his finger, saying that he understands. In the next instant, the disciple's eyes widen and he is killed instantly. The leader is shocked and asks how he dares to act that way, ordering them to capture the intruder. The disciples charge as a group, but the protagonist remains silent, taking only one step forward while his creatures face all of them. The leader, in despair, states that those are elite disciples of the Chaos Sacred Land and cannot understand how they are being defeated so easily. Lycan then says that he already explained it, that they themselves brought a great offering to the Holy Sun. The leader panics and tries to flee, threatening that as soon as he reports what happened, the protagonist's entire clan will be exterminated for 10 generations. But before he can escape, the servant appears in front of him with absurd speed, leaving him utterly terrified. The servant declares that he will tear out his tongue and in an instant fulfills the threat, leaving the man desperate as he clutches his mouth. All the disciples are quickly slaughtered and the creature reports that everything has been resolved. The protagonist then orders the shadow demons to disguise everyone as disciples of the Chaos Sacred Land, because he intends to give a great surprise to the Holy Sun and Qingwu. The shadow demon replies that there is no problem and uses his power, transforming the appearance of the creatures so they look exactly like disciples of the sacred land. The crows then disperse, and the people waiting below comment that they heard screams from above, but they believe that nothing serious happened. Elsewhere, a door is opened by one of the creatures, who confirms that there is an enormous quantity of spiritual herbs and precious medicines stored inside, concluding that the Chaos Sacred Land is truly generous, because those resources would be enough to support even an entire small sect. Lycan tells his sister to enter, explaining that she is at a critical moment of transforming into a special physique and must absorb all the spiritual and medicinal herbs there with all her strength. In that same place, Zir continues cultivating, and the aura around her becomes increasingly strange and intense. The creature watches, intrigued, asking what kind of special physique she is awakening, because the pressure released already at the initial stage is terrifying. The herbs begin to float, resonating with Zir's energy, while the pressure increases continuously. The creature comments that with an absorption rate like that, anyone else would already have exploded countless times. After completely consuming all the resources in the storehouse, Zir opens her eyes, and everyone stares at her. She stands up, confused, asking why they are looking at her. The creature, still shaken, asks if she realizes what she just did. Zir answers naturally that she was only awakening a special physique, and asks if she did anything beyond that. The creature explains that she absorbed all the spiritual herbs and precious medicines in that place, resources equivalent to those of an entire small sect, and that he has never heard of anyone capable of consuming such an enormous amount through cultivation in so little time, saying that even an old demon like him is deeply shaken. The protagonist then asks how she feels. Zir replies that she feels fuller and less weak than before. Lycan analyzes the situation and concludes that the energy her body was losing has been partially restored, and that for the moment there is no need to worry so much about her life expectancy. The creature adds that even after absorbing such a massive amount of resources, the awakening is still not complete and they still cannot identify what type of physique she is developing, which only reinforces how terrifying and powerful that physique will be, something capable of shocking both ancient and modern times. He also points out that the complete awakening and full restoration of her energies will require even more resources. The protagonist then declares that it is time to head to the Chen family. In the city, the people celebrate, drinking and rejoicing, while a voice invites everyone to enjoy the festive occasion for the Holy Sun and the future saintess. The patriarch asks about the preparations and whether everyone has already arrived. The steward replies that the Holy Sun and the young lady are ready, that guests from every region have arrived, and that all the great immortal sects, sacred lands, and great powers have sent congratulations, stating that the Chen family has never been so glorious. The patriarch declares that from that day onward his family will grow rapidly and aspire to become one of the most important in the world. The steward praises him, saying that all of this is due to the patriarch's brilliant strategy and the young lady's extraordinary talent. The patriarch states that the smartest decision he ever made was to stop her from marrying that young master of the Lee family in the past, in addition to personally leading the attack that destroyed the Lee family and winning great merit for it. At the auspicious moment, a powerful energy spreads, and a voice announces the arrival of the holy son of the Chaos Sacred Land, Yuntian and Qingwu of the Chen family. The two approach, being praised as a perfect couple, with people highlighting that Qingwu possesses a special physique and that her union with the Holy Sun is ideal, also claiming that it was fortunate that she did not marry the young master of the Li family. Qingwu declares that from that moment onward he will be her Dao companion and must not disappoint her. Yuntian takes her hand and promises that she need not worry, because his heart will belong only to her. Qingwu says that she believes him and states that the best decision of her life was to abandon that useless lichen and choose Yuntian. He replies that someone like the young master of the Lai family was never worthy of her, and reveals that the Chaos Sacred Land has brought a great gift, assuring her that it will be a surprise. Qingwu becomes excited and eager to see it. At that moment, disciples approach and Yuntian asks what happened, questioning whether there was some problem at the branch where Zir was being held. The disciple replies that someone rescued her and that everyone at the branch, including Hallmaster Liang, was killed, except for Bai Shuang, who had been in charge of watching her. Yuntian asks who was responsible, and the disciple says they still do not know because Bai Shuang refused to speak, and for that reason it was decided that an elder of the sacred land would conduct a soul search on her. Qingwu asks whether there are still surviving members of the Li family. Yuntian orders them to investigate at all costs and states that they must capture Zir, explaining that after years of extracting the immortal emperor bloodline, he is on the verge of reaching the great perfection of his holy body, and that this human tonic must not be wasted. The disciple withdraws, saying he understands. Qingwu comments that all of this is very strange, recalling that back then the three immortal sects had confirmed that all rebellious members of the Li family were either executed or imprisoned, and questions how someone could now mobilize forces to rescue a member of the Li family, also noting that destroying an entire branch demonstrates extraordinary power. Yuntian replies that she need not worry because, no matter who it is, no one can withstand the fury of the Chaos Sacred Land, and that on such a great day it is not worth letting trivial matters ruin the mood. Qingwu still feels uneasy, saying that she constantly has the impression that she's being watched. The patriarch reinforces that the Holy Sun is right, that nothing should affect the mood on that day of celebration, and that the two of them will become famous throughout the world. At that moment, a voice announces that the auspicious hour has arrived, and representatives of the Chaos Sacred Land offer their congratulations to the Holy Sun and Miss Chen. The disciples comment excitedly that this time the gifts are extraordinary, saying they heard that the cultivation resources being delivered are enough to rival those of an entire small sect. Yuntian smiles and says that the surprise has finally arrived. An object is thrown and lands on the ground before everyone. The patriarch observes that the gift is covered with a red cloth, making everything even more mysterious, and says that even he is curious. Qingwu, impatient, asks them to open it at once. The patriarch then decides to personally open the gift from the Chaos Sacred Land and calls everyone to watch. When he removes the red cloth, everyone falls silent. Qingwu watches expectantly, but the expressions soon change. Murmurs arise when they realize that the object is actually a coffin. The people are confused, asking why, on such an important day as an engagement, someone would send a coffin. The patriarch, irritated, questions the meaning of it, while Yuntian is visibly shaken. Qingwu also does not understand what is happening. Yuntian explains that this matter should have been handled by the 44th elder of the outer sect of the sacred land and asks where he is, but no one answers. Qingwu realizes that there is no one in the flying vessel, and the patriarch declares that no matter who did this, that person will not go unpunished. Suddenly, a sound comes from inside the coffin, and everyone realizes that someone is in there. The patriarch is shocked, and Qingwu asks them to check. When they open it, they discover the elder's corpse inside the coffin. Yuntian recognizes him as the 44th elder and flies into a rage, asking who dare do such a thing, declaring that killing an elder of the Chaos Sacred Land is an unforgivable offense. The people around begin to comment that someone incredibly bold is seeking revenge, because not only did they send a coffin, they also chose that exact moment to make the greatest impact. Qingwu wonders who this revenge is directed against. Someone then notices that there is something else inside the coffin. The patriarch decides to check and finds a scroll, but his expression immediately changes as he reads it. Qingwu asks what is written there, and he throws the scroll so that everyone can see it. When they read it, everyone is shocked. Qingwu is stunned when she realizes that it is a divorce letter. The people around are confused, asking who would send such a thing and, more importantly, to whom that letter was addressed. Qingwu, in disbelief, wonders whether such a thing is possible, saying that it is impossible for anyone to dare do that to her. The patriarch becomes furious, saying that this is absurd, questioning who had the audacity to send a divorce letter on the most important day of the Chen family, and demands that the person responsible appear, swearing to punish them severely. Another scroll appears indicating that Chen Qingwu was originally the young lady of a family of immortal emperors. The people then realize that it is indeed a divorce letter addressed to her. Qingwu, furious and incredulous, questions who would dare divorce her. Yuntian also erupts in anger, calling it extreme audacity and demanding to know who is behind it. The patriarch reveals that the name at the end of the letter is Lycan. Yuntian reacts with a disdain, saying that useless trash was thrown into the great abyss and